everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the information session for the 2026 Ecuador Summer Abroad Program. All right, we'll start with the land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So we'll start with some brief introductions. Today we have with us the professors who will be teaching the course in Ecuador this year. So we have Professors Monica Havelka and Christoph Richter with us. They are co-teaching ENV 395YO, and they'll be speaking in a little more detail about the course a little bit later in the session. We're also thrilled to have with us a participant from 2025. We have Rosa Karamatsa with us. She'll be talking about the student experience towards the end of the session, so definitely stick around for that. You'll want to hear her side of her experience. And my name is Genevieve Steidman. I'm the program coordinator for the Ecuador program. And I'll be the one who will be helping you along the way as you apply, as you're admitted to the program. I'll be coordinating the administrative side of things. So we'll start with a summer abroad overview. Then we'll talk about the program itinerary and the course information. Following that, we'll talk about costs and the financial assistance that's available. Then we'll talk about how to apply and the admission criteria. And as I mentioned, then we'll follow things up with our student speaker, Rosa, at the end. So the session is being recorded and it will be posted on the website within a couple of days after this session. So you can always go back and review it. You can share it with your family or your friends. So it will be there for you posted soon. If you do have any questions, this is a great opportunity for you to raise them. We're happy to address any questions that you have. There are no silly questions, and often many people are thinking the same thing. So if you are having any questions, because this is a webinar, we ask you to put them in the Q&A. So there is a Q&A module at the bottom of your screen. Depending on your setup, you may have to press the three dots and select it from there, but you will see the Q&A module. And at the end of the session, I'll be answering any questions there, and our profs and Rosa can also handle any questions that you have for us. We'd be happy to help you with them. Let me just close this. Okay, there we go. So we'll start off with what is summer abroad. So with summer abroad, you're taking U of T courses at a location in one of about 30 locations throughout the world that we offer courses in. So it is a U of T credit. It's not a transfer credit. So you're not earning a course from another university. You're earning a regular U of T degree credit course. It's a full year course, which normally can take 8 months to complete, and you're doing it in 3 to 4 weeks during the summer. So it is quite condensed. Because it's a U of T course, it fulfills any program or breadth or distribution requirements that you have for your degree. Our courses are taught by U of T faculty, also with international guest speakers, guides, and faculty in collaboration with them. It's really an opportunity to work very closely with your professor and your colleagues. I know for some students, like if you're in first year, you may have only taken large lecture style courses. So this is a great opportunity for you to have a different kind of learning experience, a really small experience where you really get to know each other and your professors well. And of course, you're experiencing what you're learning. It's incredibly hands-on. And as we'll hear, I'm sure, from our student speaker later, it's a really unique opportunity to take what you're learning in class and actually experience it on the ground. So our offices are located at Woodsworth College, this building behind me, on the St. George campus, but our programs are offered to all students, no matter your faculty, no matter your campus. There's no preference to Woodsworth, so we reach out to all students at U of T for our programs. So some of the benefits of summer abroad, you're doing a full Y credit in only 4 weeks of study in the summer. So you get quite, it gives you kind of a head start on your course load for the fall if you can get one credit done in the summer. But not only is it that it can be done quickly, it's the opportunity to really focus on only one course at a time with other students and your profs who are also only doing that one course. So it's extremely immersive. And it's a different type of learning opportunity that people really, really benefit from. For this program also, we always hear people make lifelong friends. So many people at the start of these programs don't know anyone else, and you're thrown in together and you quickly become very close. You have amazing experiences together. So in terms of personal development, meeting new people, also gaining independence and gaining confidence. For a lot of our students, it might be the first time that they've traveled or the first time that they've lived outside of their home. So it's a great way to develop personally while you're still supported by the U of T program. And of course, professional benefits as well. We have many students who go on to do graduate work, and they may decide that they want to focus in this particular area because they've had such a unique experience in it. So, it can change your professional outlook. Also, many of our students, because they become close with their professors, they end up getting wonderful reference letters from them. So it's a really good way to expand your networks and also your academic and career possibilities. So in terms of eligibility, as I mentioned, our programs are open to all U of T students. You must be in good academic standing currently. So if you are on probation currently or on suspension, you would have to wait until you are back in good academic standing. There is a minimum CGPA of 1.75. Unfortunately, we cannot accept applications below the 1.75 level. Visiting students are also welcome to apply. We often have a handful of visiting students in our programs. So if you have any friends at another school who may be interested in this, you can have them reach out to us. They are able to participate and earn a U of T credit as well during these programs. For this particular course, there is no academic prerequisite. We'll talk a little bit later about prerequisites and expectations, but no formal prerequisites for this particular course. So let's get to the overview. So the program dates are May 19th to June 11th. The first week of the program, the first 4 days of the program, May 19th to the 22nd, are actually in person in Toronto. So you will be having lectures and getting to know your classmates and your professors and doing a lot of preparatory work here in Toronto ahead of your stay in Ecuador. And the program in the Ecuador portion of the program starts on May 25th and goes until June 11th. So this is the 21st year of the program. We've had an incredible partnership with our host university, USFQ, Universidad San Francisco de Quito. They are wonderful program partners. They provide excellent support and safety on the ground, as well as all of the itinerary planning. So we are happy to continue our partnership with USFQ. Our students will be learning on the Quito campus for a couple of days at the start of the program. But of course, mainly this program takes place in the Galapagos Islands, where you will be at USFQ's Galapagos campus. This program is limited to 20 students, and that's largely because of capacity in the boats and the nature of the program. It really is a small class size. So just to highlight a few aspects of the Galapagos Islands, I'm sure you can go online and find incredible videos, incredible pictures of the Galapagos. Of course, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Protected Site. It's an incredible hub of biodiversity. It's an isolated group of volcanic islands in the Pacific Ocean, and it's about 1,000 kilometers west of mainland Ecuador. So our students, the program starts in Quito, and then USFQ arranges flights to and from the Galapagos portion of the course. It's an opportunity to study a wide variety of endemic species in a relatively untouched landscape. And as I mentioned, your classes will be at the USFQ campus that they have at the Galapagos. While in the Galapagos, you'll be staying in small hotels, which we'll talk about in a couple of slides. One on San Cristobal, which will be your home base in the Galapagos, and then a couple of nights on the island of Santa Cruz as well, towards the end of the program. So this is a picture here of the USFQ Gaius campus, the Galapagos Academic Institute for the Arts and Sciences. It's a beautiful, beautiful campus. Our students love that it's right on the beach. This is what your home base for your classes will look like in the Galapagos. So we're going to talk a little bit about the course and the course content now. So the course is called The Enchanted Isles, Ecology, Geography, and History on the Galapagos Islands. And our professors are here. They're going to talk a little bit more about the course. So we have Monica Havelka, who's an associate professor of geography at UTM, and Christoph Richter, also an associate professor from UTM, who's in the Department of Biology. So if I can ask you both to talk a little bit about the course. So just to mention here on this slide, we talk about the recommended preparation. So there is the recommended prep of ENV 200 or Bio 150, but it is not a strict prerequisite. And in fact, we do welcome students from all academic disciplines to the course. So I don't know, Christoph, do you want to start with maybe the itinerary? We'll just go through a couple of slides to talk about what they'll be doing.
Sure. Hello, everybody. The first thing I want to reiterate is that you do not need any prior knowledge in either ecology or geography or history or any of the fields. Like we really literally start from scratch in all of those areas. We'll bring everybody up to speed. And so that's why it's the nice thing about this course too, is that last year we had, what was it, mathematicians, statisticians, we had economics students, we had environmental science students. So from all of these fields, we had students who came and Rosa can talk to this later, but hopefully could make sense of what we're talking about. So don't worry about having any kind of prerequisites or prior knowledge in any of those areas. We'll talk about those. So the itinerary is the important thing about the itinerary from my perspective is that pretty much every day we have full program from the mornings till the evening and sometimes even later in the evening. So it's not like a sort of regular university day here where you have maybe a couple of lectures in the morning and then the afternoon is off. On some days we're up taking a boat early in the morning and then we're out on the water all day, or we're going to a farm in the morning and are there pretty much most of the day, or we have lectures part of the day and do something in the afternoon. So all of these days are pretty full with activities. We start in Quito. We start in Toronto with 4 days of lectures and really getting to know each other. We do some introductory stuff. We obviously talk a bit about the course again to make sure everybody knows how things work. And then in Quito, we're one day there where we get a little bit of a short introduction to the capital of Ecuador and to the institution, the university that we work with. And yeah, I think that's all we need to say about Quito. And then we fly to from Quito to the Galapagos Islands. It's a one-stop flight, so we don't get off the plane, but we arrive in San Cristobal, where the university has its second campus, and that's where we spend most of the time. So we are having our lectures and our sort of academic activities at the building that Genevieve just showed a couple of slides ago. But most of the time, we're outside. We're visiting the sites that you see here, and we're going to, as I said, activities all across the spectrum on land and on the water. And then every now and then we have lectures from guides, Galapagonian guides, and or people who live there or scientists who work there. Last year we had an afternoon where we met I think, 6 or 7 scientists who work on the Galapagos on everything from sharks to invasive plants who told us about their projects. We have community activities where we meet with local people who work at the water treatment plant, for instance, and they show us around. So the the topics and the kind of themes that we touch on are pretty broad and hopefully interest you to a large extent. Monica, you jump in whenever you have something else to add, right? Um, so and then the last 2 days we go to Santa Cruz, which is the other larger island. Um, when you see the pictures here, one of the things that most people are surprised about is that the Galapagos are still relatively untouched, but people live there. So we're not we're not in the total wilderness. The both of the places that we are relatively large urban cities. So there are people who live there, and one of the things that we want you to experience as well is what it is like for Ecuadorians, for Galapagos, to live there and to deal with the kind of issues that come from being on an island that has the kind of wildlife that we're experiencing. So yeah, the last 2 nights we're in Santa Cruz, and again we have a whole bunch of activities scheduled there, including the farewell dinner on the last day, that last evening that we're on the island, and then we fly back to Quito and have one more night there just because of the timing of the flights. That makes it easier, and fly back on the 11th. Hand it over to you, Monica.
Oh, okay. Well, Christoph and I have done this. Hi, everybody, by the way. Hi, I'm Monica. Christoph and I have done this long enough that I sometimes say we share a brain, basically. So he's more or less covered absolutely everything I was going to say anyway. But the one thing that I would maybe add, and I'm not sure whether this would be, whether we're going to talk about this later. So, and Rosa obviously is going to jump in at some point as well. But I would say that, well, we love the course. That's why we keep doing it year after year. It's a total joy to be there and to experience the environment and the students, and sort of the peer experience is great. It's every year is special to us. But it's kind of good to get your head around the idea that this is not, as Christoph said, it's not like your normal kind of core, university experience where a lot of your day is spent alone, sort of on your own agenda. We are really kind of moving as a herd all the time. So it can be a bit of a challenge to sometimes deal with that level of closeness. I mean, we do, the summer abroad group always seems to be amazing at picking a wonderful group of students where they're just excellent people that are really enthusiastic, and wonderful friendships do form. But we really are, as I say, kind of a block from the moment you wake up in the morning in a shared room with other people, and then we go to a shared breakfast, and then we walk down to a shared lecture, and then we go out to a shared experience in the water. So it's which is lovely. Like, I think there's a lot of really great things that come out of that, but it's important that you are aware that this is kind of what your days are going to be like. There's not a lot of downtime, there's not a lot of alone time. So if you're a person who really needs that and craves that, you have to think about how you're going to build this in, and to make sure that you're taking care of yourself properly, but be aware that this is very, very much a very intensely group experience.
That's a great point. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the accommodations shortly, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I
Here's some notes about the evaluation.
Yeah. So I guess I'm unmuted, so I guess I'll just cover this quickly. So the pre-departure assignment and on-site species presentation. So this is usually quite fun. Students enjoy this, that you get an opportunity to become our local expert on some of the fauna and flora. In fact, we include as well of species that you are very likely to see out in the field. So the idea is that you will write a little the pre-departure assignment. Will be a lot more information, but it's more or less kind of looking at the natural history of a particular organism that we're likely to see there. And then when we get out in the field, we'll say, so Rosa, what did you do? I can't remember what your species was last.
The Galapagos mockingbird.
Oh, yes. Okay. So when we get out and we see a mockingbird, we will turn to somebody like Rosa and say, Rosa, tell us about the mockingbird. So that's kind of, that is that assignment. And it's mostly pretty fun and engaging. And then the field notes is something that you can see it's got a fairly heavy weight. And we were just talking about this before the students, before you folk joined us, that the field notes, we expect people to keep a journal while they're there. And it really has kind of a nice payoff that it's a wonderful way to remember a really iconic trip, when you're kind of forced to write down what you're doing every day and your observations and your reflections on it. It becomes a really nice document to have later on that you can look back and remember your experience there. There's a research project that you will do in groups that, as I say, a lot more information about that. And then you're going to be doing a major term paper when you get back. We'll ask for a proposal while you're still there. And the nice thing is it's different than most courses. You're with your professors all the time. So there's lots of opportunity to ask for clarification, for input, and so on. And we'll try to give you some guidance on your proposal. But we really encourage people to explore what it is that interests them, So as Christoph mentioned, we're quite focused on the human. There's very much people who are pure biologists, ecologists, will love, what they're doing. Or if you're a geologist, you can nerd out over the geology of the area. But we also talk a lot about the human interactions and impacts and so on. So if you come from a background where mostly what you're interested in is, sociology or anthropology or those sorts of things, there's an awful lot of topics that will intersect with your interests. You don't have to assume that you're going to be writing a term paper on hammerhead sharks, unless it's what you want to do. So there's a lot of latitude there to explore what it is that interests you.
That's great. And if anyone has any questions as they're thinking about the course or anything, please put them in the Q&A. We'll be more than happy to chat about them after this session. So on to what we were saying about accommodations. This is just a photo to show you what the rooms at Kumbaya look like, and also the one in San Cristobal. So yeah, there's small rooms, and you could be sharing 3 to 4 per room. So if you are the type of person who really wants to have a private room and a private washroom, it really wouldn't be possible with this particular summer abroad program, because we just don't have those types of facilities in this program. There are other programs that would probably meet your needs, but definitely expect to be sharing your space. These aren't like fancy hotels. They aren't like modern residences. So it's different. You're immersed there. You're living in that culture, in that environment. And just to make sure that you have realistic expectations for things like the accommodation and how communal living is going to be while you're there. So some meals, quite a few of the meals are provided. So for instance, all of the breakfasts, most of the lunches, and there's also 7 group dinners. So ahead of the program, you will receive a very detailed itinerary, which tells you exactly which meals are covered. USFQ is great at organizing all of this. So we ask you to budget around 500 to 700 for meals that aren't provided by the program. And of course, when you're there, you'll be shown where you can get food at a reasonable price. There's lots of places near where you're staying where you will be able to get food if you need to. So, and of course, our profs and the USFQ staff are there to show you where you would go to get supplemental meals that aren't covered.
If I could just jump in with one
Yes,
comment here,
please.
So as Christoph mentioned, we will be staying in sort of, the towns on San Cristobal has a town, or sort of whatever, the island has a town, as well on Santa Cruz. And I mean, it's not Toronto size, they're still relatively small, and they're extremely walkable. So there's a lot of, you can buy, whatever. There's lots and lots of different types of shops and so on that are available for whether it's, knickknacks or what's the word? Souvenirs, that's the word I'm looking for, and things like that. But I did want to sort of point out that there's an incredible range of restaurants, as Genevieve said, that, if you want to splurge on some very, very nice fancy meals, there's the opportunity to do that. But there's also places where you can get a dinner for $5 for American $5, and it's very filling and very, very good food because everything's incredibly fresh and so on. So, you can eat very well there without spending a ton of money. But if you feel like splurging, that's up to you as well. But it's extremely walkable. So, don't worry about, oh, are we going to be stuck in a part of town? It is, as someone once told me, it is not possible to get lost in San Cristobal. So if that's not totally true, you can, but it's very easy to get around on foot and explore.
That's great. Yeah, and here are just some pictures of the hotels, just to give you an idea. This one on the left is Hotel Kumbaya, who we've used for years. And then the one on the right is the one on San Cristobal. This tends to change from year to year due to availability, due to USFQ's bookings. But last year they were at Casa Donelli. I believe they've been there in previous years as well. And you will get, of course, the full itinerary and the details prior to the program. One thing to highlight in terms of health and safety specifically for this program is that there is a lot of travel by boat. And so we would hope that you would be in good physical health and not be especially prone to seasickness. And most importantly, you need to provide proof of swimming proficiency. Quite a few of the activities involve being around water or being in water and snorkeling, and that's part of your learning and observing for the course. So swimming is definitely a part of this program, which is why we require the swimming proficiency. So these details are outlined on our website as well, but I'll just quickly highlight that you need to have the equivalent of what's called the Swim to Survive standard, which means the ability to roll into deep water, tread water for 1 minute, and swim 50 meters of any strokes or combination of strokes in a standard pool. So this is almost kind of like a deep end test or something that they would give you at a pool. So they're not expecting you to be an excellent swimmer, but just that you can make it for 50 meters and that you can tread water for at least 1 minute and also have that roll into the water. So often students already have proof of their swimming proficiency. So if you've done lessons, even if it's when you were much younger, if you have certificates from your swimming lessons, if you have a scuba certification, lifeguarding certification, all you need to do is email those to me at ecuador.abroad@utoronto.ca. You do have to do that by the application deadline. So it has to be received by us by February 4th, for us to receive your application. So if you don't have those, that's also fine. There are opportunities for you to do a couple of programs at U of T. So on the St. George campus, they do have a Swim to Survive program. It's a drop-in program that you register for online, and it's a 1-day program where they actually teach you the Swim to Survive basics. So if you complete one of those, they give you a certificate, and you can also send that in to me by February 4th. I just checked this morning. They haven't updated yet their classes for January, but they usually will do that at the beginning of the term, and you'll see some January dates, and you can just go to one of those drop-in sessions. If you are at UTM or at the Scarborough campus, they also have Learn to Swim classes. They seem to be 4 weeks. Or 3 or 4 weeks, so it might be a little bit. It's a little bit of a longer commitment, but if you can start it either now or in January, you may be able to get to that Swim to Survive level by February 4th. I also had other students who would do it at a different campus pool or a community pool, and we have a form that we can send you, and you would get the attending lifeguard to basically give you a deep end test and then sign off that yes, you can do these. So there's that option too, if there's a pool close to you, or even you can drop into one of your campus pools and do it yourself. I've also had students get their friend recording them on their phone doing the test, and then sending me the video. That's okay too. So really, we're trying to make it as easy for you as possible to get to submit those proof of swimming requirements, but you do have to do so by February 4th. because after February 4th, we move really quickly with admissions because it's a very early program. So we need to know that you have that by February 4th. And if you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. It's ecuador.abroad@utoronto.ca. And yeah, we're very flexible. We've worked out solutions for lots of students doing the swimming proficiency. All right, now in terms of getting to Ecuador, so you do make your own travel arrangements. We don't book a group flight, but we will give you a recommended group flight, the flight numbers, the flight dates, all of that when you're admitted to the program. And then we've found that pretty much everyone will book themselves onto those flights. But some people aren't coming from Toronto. Some might be coming from the States or other places overseas. So at least try to get the second leg of that flight with our group. Our flight goes Toronto to Panama and then Panama to Quito. So we have had some students who joined the group in Panama, or you can also meet the group in Quito. So you don't have to be on the recommended flights. If you are joining the group in Quito, we will give you instructions on how to get to the hotel and how to meet up with the group. But we just find that a lot of students do book themselves onto the recommended flight, and that way they can meet each other ahead of time and fly together down to Ecuador. So we create a social media group as well for students to help you connect before traveling. Luckily, with this particular program, you've got those 4 days of in-person classes in Toronto before you even are flying down to Ecuador. So everyone already knows each other and you can make your plans then. But we set up a social media group pretty much once everyone has paid their deposit, and people start connecting already ahead of time through that. So it's up to students to make sure that they meet the entry requirements for Ecuador, as well as any countries that they are traveling through. So if you are on our recommended flight, you're going to want to check the Panama requirements. If you're making your own flight, you're going through the States or somewhere else, you need to check your entry requirements for those countries, even if it's just a quick stopover. So for Canadian citizens, you can always check the travel.gc.ca website. And you can also check the Ecuador Embassy's website as well, where they would post requirements for students of different nationalities. We always recommend that you apply in Toronto if possible. Last year, we had a couple of students who needed a visa, and we were able to give a letter outlining the program that they're doing. And it's really important that you have that supporting documentation. So if you do require a visa, make your appointment at the embassy and then reach out to us, and we will give you some supporting documentation for your application. And we also encourage you to purchase cancellation insurance if you needed to for your flights, as well as, of course, you will need medical travel health insurance, and we will give you a lot more information on that once you're admitted to the program. So we're going to move over to costs. So this is where you'll find them on our website. This left-hand column has the costs item. When you click on that, it opens up this page, which will show you the basics and the deadlines for payment. So the application fee is due February 4th. There is then a $1,000 deposit, which is due 1 week after admission. And admission for this program usually takes place the last week of February. And then all your remaining fees will be due April 1st. So I've just got a screenshot here of what the cost charts look like on the website. So you can access all this information on the website, but I'll just go through it now to give you a sense of how it's broken down. So there are fees paid to Summer Abroad, as well as incidental fees paid on Acorn, as well as estimated additional costs. So for this particular program, for a domestic student, the fees paid to Summer Abroad are $10,940. The only difference here with fees is for the international students, the course fee is a little bit higher, but all the other fees are the same, of course. So the fees paid to Summer Abroad cover your course fee, your field trip fees, including your flights down to the Galapagos, your accommodation, and most meals in the program. So that's covered by the fees that you pay to Summer Abroad. You also would pay your summer incidental fees on Acorn. So in April, when we add the course for you on your Acorn, you'll see that it triggers the U of T incidental fee, which you would pay there. And then finally, there are the estimated costs, which are variable. So for instance, meals, which we had discussed, as well as airfare. So you may be able to get a less expensive flight than the one that we have estimated, but that would be up to you. That's up to your discretion. So that's how the fees work. And again, you can find this breakdown on our website in the cost tab. Now, financial aid. I just included this screenshot of the website so you know where to find this information. So if you go to the financial aid tab, then you'll also see a list here on the left side of the specific awards that are available, the criteria, including additional awards which aren't offered by Summer Abroad, but that you may be eligible for. So there are Summer Abroad awards which range from $1,300 to $6,000, depending on the specific award that you receive. And you apply online for these at the same time that you're applying to the program. So it's actually a very smooth way to apply for your funding. It's all with the one application. U of T students have to have completed at least 4 full credits by this December. So if you are currently in first year, unfortunately, you wouldn't be eligible for the Summer Abroad awards offered through our office. The minimum CGPA cutoff for this is 2.25. Again, that is a minimum. So depending on how many applications we receive and how many awards we have available for particular programs, it can be even higher than that is required. And one thing to highlight is that none of these awards cover the full cost of the program. So you are expected to contribute some amount to your fees. And you can also look at other sources to fund your summer abroad. We actually have an information session in January, and you can find it on the events tab on our website. And it's a whole information session about financing your summer abroad. So I highly recommend you attend that if you're interested. So some of the other awards that I mentioned, which you can find a link to on our website, are the CIE, the International Experience Awards. And these awards cover things like flights, accommodation, and they're offered through the Center for International Experience. One thing to note is that they don't actually release the funds until you're actually well into the program. So it can be good for on-site expenses, but you would still have to pay the full fees to Summer Abroad by April 1st. You should also definitely check with your own registrar's office for possible awards and bursaries. Some of the colleges have some quite generous funding for international travel opportunities for students and international study. So I would highly recommend just make an appointment or speak to the financial aid officer at your own college registrar's office, and they may be able to guide you to some funding that they have for our programs. Also, the programs are eligible for OSAP. It's usually the summer extension that students receive. It's not a huge amount. It's usually about $400 per week for the duration of the program. So it comes to around $1,500 or so, which is great. Again, it would be more for your on-site expenses because they also don't release the funds until the start of the program, unfortunately. So, and you would still have to pay the summer abroad fees in advance of that. But those are some of your funding options. Again, this is also on our website, and feel free to join that session on January 8th. If you can't make it to the session, it's the same as this one. It will be recorded, and you'll be able to find it on our website a couple of days after the session. All right, so applications are now open for the Ecuador program. They opened last Friday, so we've already received a couple of applications. The deadline will be February 4th, 2026 at 4 p.m. Definitely don't wait till the last minute to submit your application because there is also an online interview portion that you will need to do after you submit your application. So definitely give yourself a couple of days so that you have time to complete all of the requirements of the application. We also need to receive the swimming proficiency by that deadline. Again, if you're having trouble meeting that, please reach out and contact me. There is a $210 non-refundable application fee for the program. And one other thing to highlight this year is that you can now select a second choice of program. So just if you're worried that you might not get into the Ecuador program, you could submit a second choice without filling out a whole separate application for your second choice program. So the application is all done through our website. There's the Apply tab on the right, and that will take you to our information about deadlines as well as about the application procedures, and that's where you will log in to the application itself. So it looks like this. I just included this screenshot just to make sure that as you're going along that you complete all of the steps. So make sure that you have a green check mark next to all of these steps. That way you know that your application is complete. And then after you pay the application fee, you need to go back in and then submit your program application. So you'll actually get 2 confirmation emails. You'll get a payment confirmation email, then you'll go back in, submit your application, and you'll get a second email saying that we have received your application. So at that point, we will also send you a link for you to complete the recorded interview questions. So these you do on your own time. You can do it 24/7. But it's a recorded interview format where we ask you questions about adaptability and other general questions. So it's nothing you need to study for. You're not expected to have knowledge about the site yet. It's really about experience that you've had either traveling or living with groups of people, and just about general adaptability and experience that you may have. So we do not select based on first come, first serve. So there's no advantage to getting your application in right now. So definitely work on your application, make sure it's as strong an application as you can, and then just be sure to submit it a couple of days before the deadline so you have time to do those recorded interview questions. So we look at your academic background, your academic suitability. I already discussed there is a minimum cutoff of 1.75. And we also pay very close attention to your personal statement. And this gives you a chance to explain why you want to do this particular program, how it fits with your academic goals, your personal goals, and it's really your way of saying why you're a great candidate to be selected for this program. And again, on our website, some of our student ambassadors have put together a how-to video for applying, so feel free to check those out as well. So the admission decisions will be mid to late February. Once accepted, you have 1 week to confirm your spot with the $1,000 deposit. Remaining fees are due April 1st. And then we also ask for several post-acceptance steps. So you'll be going back into the application system and you'll be doing post-acceptance. So you'll need to provide us with certain information. We also provide you with a lot of information there. So that sort of becomes a portal where you can provide us information and where we can share details with you as well. There will also be an online pre-departure orientation in mid-April, which everyone needs to attend. And there we'll be going through details of the itinerary, what to pack, all those kinds of small things that you think about when you're getting ready to travel. Those we'll talk about at length in the pre-departure orientation. There'll also be an online student guide, which is produced by the Summer Abroad Office, as well as an itinerary and guide provided by our partner, USFQ. So you will have a lot of information before you embark on the program. And just to highlight a few new resources that we have on our website with equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. So Summer Abroad's goal is to support all students in their summer abroad experience. So we've put together quite a lot of resources for various communities of students, and we have this information available on our website on the EDI and Accessibility tab. We also have site-specific EDIA resources. So as you know, different countries can vary in their level of inclusivity, acceptance, legal protections for various identities. So it's really important to prepare yourself ahead of time, and we have prepared quite a few site-specific resources on our website as well. We have a program coordinator who specifically is responsible for EDIA and resources. So please reach out to us if you have any questions or any issues that you'd like to discuss. Now, in terms of accessibility abroad, so students who require accommodations, academic accommodations, such as extra time, adaptive technology, barrier-free environment, you would need to register in advance with your campus's accessibility services office. So each campus has their own accessibility services office. You would need to reach out to them and start planning and get an accommodation letter. So the letter of accommodation would need to be uploaded to our application within 7 days of being admitted to the summer abroad program. So at the same time that you are paying your $1,000 deposit, you would also need to supply your letter of accommodation. So the range of accommodations differs greatly by country. So we definitely cannot guarantee that all sites would be able to offer the same level of accommodations. So it's very, very important for you to reach out to the Summer Abroad office, reach out to accessibility services, and really find out which sites might be better for you and what things we can accommodate you during the program. And finally, for EDIA, we also have a Summer Abroad Award for EDI, and it's awarded to undergraduate students who are participating in a summer abroad, and it's based on their academic achievement, financial need, as well as recent contributions to the advancement of equity, diversity, and inclusion. So on our website, you'll see more details about the selection criteria for this award. You also apply for this award as you're applying to the program. And we also have features of some of our previous winners of this award from last year and the year before. So you can take a look at the students who received these awards. All right. Now, finally, I'm thrilled to introduce Rosa Karamatsa. She is here as our program participant from last year. So Rosa, I'll hand it over to you if you wanted to start and tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Rosa. I'm a fourth year student at U of T St. George. I'm double majoring in environmental studies and philosophy. And one of the reasons why I chose the program and it interested me, was I really wanted a study abroad program that wasn't just kind of tourism. I really wanted something immersive where I could learn directly from the environment and the people who live there. And it was such a once in a lifetime experience, to see and to be in the Galapagos, to see environmental issues and to kind of see how they interact with science and community and policy. And personally, I really loved being surrounded by people and actually my friends basically for most of the trip. And I really loved kind of the social aspect of it. I feel like I am an extrovert, so I feel like it was kind of perfect for me, but I feel like we made such deep connections with so many people there. I still am in contact with so many of the people from the group. I saw some earlier this week and I'm seeing some next week too. And like you do really create like such great bonds with the people you're going on this trip with. Academically too, I know that I'm doing environmental studies, but like Monica and Chris have emphasized, you really don't need a background in that necessarily. You just need to be curious and open-minded. But I really loved how like environmental theory connected with real world systems. So we talked a lot about waste management, water scarcity, invasive species, governance, how political instability affects conservation on the islands and in Ecuador. And it was such an amazing experience to hear about that. The lectures, I know that being as a student, you're tired of lectures, you don't want to be in a classroom, but actually some of those were my favorite days. We learned a lot about climate and invasive species and the history of the islands and the humans on the islands and how they like connect to systemic issues that honestly the islands are still facing today. And I actually loved those lectures. Um, Also talking to the researchers too, really helped me kind of understand what field research really looks like, what it really takes to do this, especially out in a much more remote area like the Galapagos. I mean, you're on islands kind of in the middle of the ocean. Um, some highlights though, so many to choose from. I feel like one of them was definitely snorkeling on Kicker Rock. I say this every single time people ask me what my experience was like. We got to see hammerhead sharks, sea turtles, spotted eagle rays. Um, Such an amazing experience. Like, there's nothing like it. You know, a lot of the other summer abroad programs are amazing too, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. This one kind of just takes the cake. Like, it was genuinely such an amazing experience. Working at Hacienda Tranquila, cutting down invasive guava trees with a machete. Um, Also seeing a pod of 30 to 50 dolphins was insane. And that doesn't happen every year. We were warned of this going into it, but we did get to last year and it was such an amazing experience. Like all of a sudden we're on a boat and we just see kind of off into the distance, just like oh so many dolphins just jumping. And then next thing we knew they were like all around our boat. Um so amazing. You really can't get that anywhere else, you know. Um Also though, some of the more kind of quiet, like chill moments were also so great, like sunsets after lectures, hanging out on terraces of our hostels, just hanging out, talking. That's really where some of the best like bonding moments happened. Playing soccer with local students got really competitive, but it was really fun. Um, Group swims on the beaches, like genuinely the list goes on. Like every single day was so amazing. Um, like Monica and Chris did say too, every day is pretty packed. So, like for example, wake up in the hostel in the morning, 6-ish, depending on the day, depending on what you're doing. Breakfast, heading out as a group to a field site. Like we went to the highlands, we've gone to the beaches, research stations on San Cristobal, and sometimes lectures at USFQ. Um, then usually in the afternoon, snorkeling or hiking or hands-on conservation work. And then in the evenings, group dinners, um, terrace hangouts, uh, journaling. I still have my journal actually. I was saying this before this started. I still have my journal. I look back at it all the time. I love it. It kind of got beat up, but like I have all my you can't really see, but I have all my notes. Um, I love looking back at it. Um, and I would just 100% recommend this trip. Like, especially the partnership with USFQ and having such amazing ties with the tour guides there, and having that established connection really made the trip feel like such a a breeze, at least from my end. Um, you know, like all your things are planned out. Traveling to the Galapagos isn't actually as simple as you think. Like, you know, it's not the same as just taking a plane to Paris, you know, like there are a lot of steps and a lot of like um kind of more bureaucratic stuff that you might not even know about having to travel here. And so having this kind of connection to like the university here and having these amazing tour guides to help us um really made the trip feel so smooth and such an amazing experience. Um yeah, you really don't need prior experience or like research experience. You don't need to necessarily have been in the environment. Like I also do philosophy. Who would have thought that going here? But it was so amazing. You just need to be like open, curious, willing to get a little uncomfortable, you know, snorkeling, um, kind of stepping out of your comfort zone, but it's all like, you know, you just need to kind of go into it with an open mind, and really kind of embrace like what you're gonna experience. Still so close with my friends from the trip, and it really does stick with you. Like, I feel like this trip is a once in a lifetime experience and like you get so much out of it. It's not just a beach tourism kind of trip. It's not like just an academic thing too. It's kind of a great mix of everything. Um, yeah, I loved it and I 100% recommend.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. It's so, so great to hear your perspective. Thank you, like really for sharing all of that about your experience. Sounds like it was amazing. Are there any questions now, either for our professors, for Rosa, for myself? I'm just looking at the Q&A. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in. I don't see any just yet. So just a reminder to definitely follow our Instagram, and our students share so many incredible stories and photos, and some of them are really funny. Like it's a really, really great thing to check out. So definitely follow us on Instagram. There's some Ecuador posts there as well. So we have people posting from all of our programs from last summer, and then some people are also posting like retrospective things. So definitely a good way to check out the student experience as well. There is one question in the Q&A. How competitive is the program? So it really varies year by year, because in terms of competitive, that would just mean basically how many applications we get versus how many spots. So it is strictly limited to 20. So if we do get quite a lot more applications than 20, then yeah, it would be very competitive that year. I wouldn't say it's our most competitive program. Most uh, the more competitive programs tend to be larger ones like the England program or Japan. This program is, I mean, I wouldn't say we admit everyone who applies. So we do look carefully at the applications to determine your own suitability, to find out who's best for the program. But it isn't one of our most competitive ones. I know that's very vague, but it's hard for me to anticipate how many applications we would really have. There's another question here about what level of Spanish should you prepare. You don't need to prepare Spanish ahead of time. It's always great to, if you learned a couple of words or whatever, and I'm sure Monica and Christophe, if you want to jump in on any of these, like it's good to have some Spanish, but it's definitely not a requirement. We're not going to require that you have a certain level or do a test or anything like that.
Yeah, I would just jump
Yeah.
in to say that because we have we're fortunate that, I mean, Chris speaks better than I do. I have some Spanish. We usually end up with a student who is a native Spanish speaker or has good proficiency in Spanish. But we also work very closely with people at USFQ who are completely bilingual. So it would really be only if you were on your own, like let's say going shopping or at a restaurant or something, that you would, you might sort of feel like, oh, I would like to know some Spanish. But remember, it's a place that has a lot of tourists. So most of the places that you would go, you will have, somebody who speaks English at least relatively well. If and anything that would be emergency, if you had to go to the hospital or, or something like this, absolutely there will be people who speak English. But what I would say is that people really appreciate, even if all you can say is hola and gracias and por favor, that's gonna, and you smile and point and Google Translate on your phone, you will be able to get by even if you don't, that's all I say, if you're just willing to be, friendly and willing to learn. It's not a big barrier.
Great.
can,
Yeah, another question for you guys.
yeah, just the next question about handling animals or work at rescue. Um, while animals are friendly in the Galapagos because they have never been hunted to any large extent, there is a very strict rule that we do not touch or approach anything that doesn't approach us. So we do not handle animals any way, shape, or form. And that is across the park. So because it is a protected area, the guides who are with us are actually watching out for this, and they're making sure that we're not harassing wildlife, which we'll talk about, which we don't do. But yeah, we do not handle animals there.
Great,
The only
thank
thing we do, as Rosa said, is we cut down invasive trees.
you.
And we plant, and then the next day we go, we actually plant native trees, native shrubs. So we do, that's the most handling we do.
Well, we do have an opportunity to handle domestic animals when we go to, there's a couple of farms that we visit where you might have an opportunity to milk a cow or feed some goats or chickens or ducks. So, you can get that fix and so on at that point, and lots of dogs running around there. But in terms of wildlife, no.
Okay.
Also, just to add, throughout it though, we are still so close to the wildlife though. So for example, on so many of the beaches, there's sea lions everywhere. You should not go approach them, do not. But if you're just swimming around with your friends, like a sea lion will swim right by you. I feel like it's one of the most like immersive experiences. Like obviously you still don't touch them, but you just look around and there's like 10 sea lions laying over here, three like swimming around in the ocean playing with each other, and you get to be in their space. It's even going to Espanola, seeing the albatrosses. Like I remember in the middle of the path, there was one that was nesting. We just had to walk around it, but still, like just being immersed in that, even though you don't get to touch them, like it's still such an amazing way to experience and to be in their space.
That's amazing. Great questions too. Um, Anyone else have any questions for the Q&A? All right, I don't see any right now. Oh, did one come in? Oh, okay. Do we need vaccinations? So not for this particular program. I don't know, Monica or Chris, did you want to address vaccinations?
I mean, there used to be when we were, or whatever, there are parts of Ecuador where we do need vaccinations, but that risk doesn't exist in the Galapagos. So there's no specific risk. I mean, I think it's a good idea just generally to be up to date on like, tetanus and things like that. But there is also a quite modern and really quite nice hospital in San Cristobal. So if anything, came up, it's, you would get good medical care. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say just to have sort of the basics that you would have here, I would think, yeah. Tetanus is probably not a bad idea to have a booster before you go, just in case. I mean, fortunately, we haven't really had this, but it is the sort of thing that you're swimming in the ocean and it's not impossible to get a cut on your foot or to step on, a sharp stone or something out on the beach. So, tetanus is always just a good one to have. But as we like to say, we're doctors, but not those kinds of doctors. So probably good to speak with, your family physician about that.
Yeah, for sure. And there's medical travel clinics. There used to be one right near U of T. It may still be there, where you can find out if you should do any other vaccines. But we don't have any kind of vaccine requirement for this program. It would be up to you, your personal choices, your personal health. Will the swimming be canceled if the waves are big? So how does that work?
Um, it definitely would. Like we are not, while we need you to show that you can swim, what we are doing is not, super athlete requirements. Um, we've never, like in my experience at least, we've never canceled a trip because of conditions, because they were always good enough to be out there. And the guides that go with us are trained, and there is always two guides with us in the water, plus we're close to the boat. So if at some point you found things to get too uncomfortable for you, you can get out of the water at any time. And so clearly there's really never been a reason to cancel things. But obviously, yeah, if a storm came up, we would not go out on the water.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that the itinerary is so, carefully designed is that they're even taking into account things like when we have a trip planned, the timing relates to the tides and sort of, and sort of to make sure that that we stack the odds so that our conditions are going to be as favorable as possible. And the guides are very, very extensively trained in being able to read. I mean, most of them are native Galapagonians, so they know that environment extremely well, and they're very safety conscious. So yeah, we kind of rely on their what they have to say about whether the water conditions are safe or not.
We talk about this. Yeah, we have some introduction at the Galapagos. There's no indigenous people on the Galapagos, but we do talk about the history of it and the cultures there. So we do have a lecture on that.
Yes, yeah, there was a question about cultural customs for Indigenous culture. And there's another question about tipping. So students do not have to give the tips. That is handled by the professors. So you're not expected to be tipping, but the guides do expect to be tipped, but by our leaders, by our professors, not by individuals. Anything to add about the tipping? I mean, if you're at a restaurant by yourself, or like if you're independently at a restaurant or whatever, they may want a tip, but not for the guides, not for anything like that. That's program related.
Mhm.
Okay, and it looks like that might be it for now for the Q&A. If anyone has any more questions, definitely get them in now. We've just got a couple of minutes left. The questions have been great, so please keep them coming. I'll just review that you can find all of this information on the Summer Abroad website. There's also upcoming information sessions, so that one in January on financing your summer abroad might be useful for you to attend. We talked about the Instagram. We also have a monthly newsletter that you can subscribe to through our website. Definitely, if you have any other questions, please feel free to book a virtual appointment with me. You can do that through our website as well. You can also just reach me by email anytime at ecuador.abroad@utoronto.ca. So anytime during the application process, please feel free to reach out, and I'll get back to you pretty quickly. Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up for today. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Monica, Christoph, and Rosa, for sharing your experience and knowledge about the program. Yeah, so again, anyone can reach out to me if you have any questions about the application. The application is open now, so you can go ahead and get started. And we will have this recording on our website within a few days, which you are free to share with anyone, family, friends, whoever. So thanks again for joining us, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.